Hi everyone, welcome back to the another episode at the Rollback Café. And today we have Sylvian. He is a seasoned technologist and strategic communicator with over 2 decades of experience at intersection of software engineering, SRE, and developer advocacy and technical education. And right now he's currently at AI Labs at Rootly, where he explores the evolving tale of artificial intelligence like AI in SRE and how the developer open source tools, prototypes in collaboration with organizations such as Anthropy, Google DeepMind, and Google Cloud. So, hi Sylvan, it's great to have you at today.
Thank you, Animesh. Thank you for having me.
Cool. So, before we jump, I'm really excited to have you. And I know AISRE is something that you have talked about a lot. And I hope that in today's episode, we'll have some fruitful conversation on how and why the term AI came into SRE. So, what I believe in a reality at the moment, incident response today is already complex, right? Although it's a fast moving, it's quite messy. And things for team keeps very, what should I say, juggling because they are looking at the alerts, dashboard, and then some um, may not even have a full context why this incident came in. But they are trying to restore the system quickly because the system can't be down for a lot. I think we calculate in the milliseconds. So what do you think? Like, what does incident response actually look like right now at the ground today?
Yeah, as you say, it's a messy. I mean, not that messy, but it's definitely an interesting and yeah, I would say messy process. Um, and as you said, when there is an incident, um, you need to act fast. So I think SREs are generally cold-blooded people, or they become, or they manage to, you know, like handle stress. And yeah, you need to find the needle in the haystack as soon as possible. Sometimes it's quite
Right.
easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes, hey, you just look at commit history and you spot a bad commit. But sometimes it's more complicated, especially in the era of distributed system, microservices, and cloud native infrastructure. And so as an SRE, you will need to kind of have an intuition and a plan on what are the services and metrics that you want to look, and then you open up your dashboards and and try to find the graph or the logs or the trace that may tell you why you are down. And then it gets even more complicated when perhaps it's a serious incident or a large infrastructure and company, and it's not just about finding the issue but coordinating the
First team.
incident effort. Exactly, right? Like incident management is an art, not just the technical part, but also the orchestration of um, the the people, really. And so sometimes it can be quite complicated, especially in large organization. You have, this methodology. Really, incident management is a methodology that generally, like the short version is, hey, you have an incident
Right.
commander
Yeah. Yeah.
that is in charge of like leading the effort. And yeah, that's, for instance, tool like us, like Rootly, will help us to make this process less painful by automating a lot of things. But ultimately, it's a hard thing to do. And, I think, as you said, like I think AI can enter in this.
I agree. I think for SREs, as you told, sometimes it is easy, sometimes it is quite hectic. Um, I believe somewhere the data is also a problem, right? Because it's not that team, SRE team or any team lacks data. They have thousands of them, maybe millions, and I think that's where actually the problem lies. They are drowning in it. They have so much data. Sometimes they are not able to coordinate well, like find the context and what led to what, and then that becomes the real challenge. So, how do you suggest that that we separate the signal, the actual problem, or actual incident from the noise that we have when it's urgent.
Yeah, I can share my opinion. It's definitely not the solution. Otherwise, I'd be rich. I think companies or individuals have been, chasing this issue for their entire career. But yeah, I think you are dead on right. Like, it's generally not all the time. Some company did not instrument their code or infrastructure well, and they are lacking data. But I would say that any modern company will have, to your point, generally almost too much data. And with tools like Datadog, it's very easy to plug, like into pretty much anything that you are running. But
Mm-hmm.
then, what do you do with this data? I think that's, whether that's with an external tool or even a large company like LinkedIn, that was definitely an issue where we have too much data. I think there is a lot of strategy here, but at the end of the day, generally, I think what prevailed is engineer knowledge of their infrastructure, and they know which graph to look at. They have this intuition, right? Because they've been around long enough that they kind of know the pattern of the infrastructure, what could go wrong, what are some of the metrics that matter the most. And that's, I think with this experience that you are able to, like, as you said, like, look through noise and really get
Right,
to
right.
the signal. In my experience, that's, I think, like, kind of like the most successful thing that I've seen in the industry.
Makes sense. And I think with AI, this complication is about to get reduced, right? Because now it's not just that they'll give you an answer; they'll also help you to debug a lot of things, right? With Gen AI, we are it's not just anymore like a helping hand, but a conversational, helpful friend whom is helping you to either debug things or just telling you where and what may have been a problem.
Right. Yeah. In terms of tools, I think even prior to AI, you have statistics generally like a good tool. If you graph everything, you can look at things like, standard deviation, like, is something, outside of the range, and a bunch of formulas that can help you to detect an anomaly, and again, like, find the signal versus the noise. And a lot also of machine learning uh, has been used for a long time. It's nothing new, and it is AI. But now, like, what people refer to generally as AI nowadays is Gen AI, which,
Right, right.
is not the most appropriate tool for a lot of things. For instance, anything that's graph, you should not use Gen AI. You should use machine learning. But Gen AI, I think, becomes very helpful in, for instance, the interpretation of logs or traces, right? Because it's natural language, and these LLMs are all about natural language. So here, I think they provide a lot of value. And as you said, I think the next step is obviously having them as your troubleshooting companion, where they can help you to pinpoint what might be the issue. And here there is like a new category of tool that has been emerging that does exactly that, and it's called AI SRE. The name is controversial. I think a lot of people in the industry don't like it, but it is what it is. Yeah, I predict this type of tool to become very, very popular, and I believe in 2026 we are going to see a very steep adoption of this type of tools.
So, do you have any tools that you think are emerging in this domain specifically?
Yeah. Yeah, and if we take a step back, I've been thinking about this problem for a long time. Back when I
Hmm.
was an SRE at LinkedIn, it was a long time ago now, like more than 10 years ago. But I was frustrated with incidents, and to what we discussed, we had all this data available. What if we could automate to find a signal in this data, and then somehow teach the system to automatically heal itself, right? So self-healing system, it's something that they exist. There's a lot of self-healing system, and in IT and infrastructure management, there are companies who've been building some of them. FBAR by Facebook, now Meta,
Mm-hmm.
is a popular one. I think now probably
That's
more than
interesting.
FBAR. Yeah. I think they released it in 2012 or 11. That's a long time ago, and it was in
Glad, yeah.
charge of managing their cluster. They were able, I think the numbers they shared, like they were able to reduce like repetitive tasks for system administrator or system engineer. I forgot what the name then, by 40%.
Gotcha. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and Dropbox also released Nauru, which was inspired by FBAR. And so at LinkedIn, I worked at the time I was working on. The thing is, all the systems were deterministic, right? They were running off non-issue and non-solution. We also had one at LinkedIn, which is called Nurse. And it's more kind of a run book, like, hey, we know we have this issue that's coming, every often, so we can apply this run book. But what I wanted to build was something that was could handle non-deterministic cases, or was at least self-learning.
Gotcha.
I wrote like a concept around this, and became a patent, as LinkedIn was always pushing us to write patent. Um, but AI was not there yet back 11 years ago. So I never got a chance to build it. Then I became an entrepreneur in education, and later on joined Rootly. But today with Gen AI, we are really seeing this tech coming to reality. So I'm really excited about this. Actually, that's a big reason why I joined Rootly a year ago, is that Rootly is building, and we have an AI SRE. And for me, it was kind of like, hey, I finally get to work on that this time. Work in production with customer. And in a nutshell, what the tool does is that it plugs into your observability tool.
Okay.
Your Datadog, Prometheus, your GitHub, like Neuralink and whatnot, but also kind of like all the human knowledge base, like your Confluence and Slack and Glean and whatnot.
Building a complete database, like complete data knowledge base.
Exactly. It's not just signal and data, but also knowledge based. And based on this,
That's
you
nice,
kind
yeah.
of create kind of like, as you say, like a companion, right? That has read all your Terraform recipe, read
Right,
all the
right.
incident channel on Slack, and when an incident is triggered, kind of have this intuition that I spoke about at the beginning of our conversation, right? It kind of knows what may be broken, right? So it will go and plug into your observability tool and bring in the data that the tool think might show, what the issue is, and then come up with an analysis. And yeah, these tools are very impressive. They won't solve your most complex incidents, but for
But they'll
fair.
help you in like helping you get the idea on how you can do.
Exactly. I think at the bare minimum, it helps you to just get started on a complex incident. But we've definitely seen customer handle incidents without the human being involved at all.
So, you mentioned like without human being involved. I think that is still a big elephant in the room right now with SREs, and especially with how Gen AI have evolved from 2025 to 2026 a lot. And there's a myth that generally goes around: once AI enters a picture, whatever it is, the roles are going to replaced by them, like a kind of a SRE doomsday myth. What do you think? There has been a lot of noise, and especially with all of layoffs that coming up each year in the start. Um,
Yeah,
what do you think about it?
I've been, as you say, I've been in the tech industry for 2 decades now. I have
Yeah.
gray hair. uh, Look, I've seen this story play over and over, right? Like every time there's been like a big jump in technology, a new concept or tool, engineer being afraid of being replaced. And the truth is that some jobs are going away, but they are
Mm-hmm.
not going away in the way that they are removed, they are evolving, right? And
Uh,
so I think
yeah.
for me, that's the exact same thing. Like, like some stuff that we need to use to do as an engineer are going away because they are automated. But there are then it means that we have other, things that we can work on. And so I don't think this, doomsday, especially when it comes to employment, um, is coming at least anytime soon. I think the round of layoff has more to do with, in my opinion, the state of our economy,
Hmm.
right? Like post-COVID, COVID, we saw a huge surge in valuation and hiring, and then a correction needed to happen. And I think that, I don't know, we'll see, but maybe the golden era of software is kind of coming to an end, and tech companies are not as willing to invest so much in engineering. But I don't think AI is the main like culprit around this. If you think about it, let's say that let's take company A, right? Company A has 10 engineers, and they're like, hey, look, we can use a Cloud Code or a Cursor or Windsurf or
Right,
whatnot.
right, 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 right. Yeah.
And with that, maybe one engineer can do the work of 10 engineers, right? So the company might be like, sweet, I'm going to just keep one engineer and lay off the rest. But company B, with a competitor, might have the same situation, but they're like, hey, I want to beat company A. So instead of laying off my people, I'm going to keep my 10 engineers and I'm going to beat the competition.
They just upgrade them with AI, like the cloud bot or
Exactly.
the yeah.
Exactly, right? So company A now has one engineer who is faster than before, but company B has 10 engineers who are also faster than before. So, I think the market dynamics make that, yes, overall, we are all becoming faster, and you could, think, oh, I can replace my workforce, but you can't, right? It's just everything is
Right,
going
right, right, right.
faster. So I think it's just about our job is evolving and the pace at which we can build is evolving, but I don't believe in the doomsday scenario.
I think I agree, and somewhere I believe that now the organizations or the companies or in general our industry is shifting less about tooling and how we use those tools and kind of build an operating model like OS, how OS runs our laptops or our phones. Similarly, building a concrete operating model for organization. With AI, that has evolved quite a bit, right? Now, each domain have their own AI segregated, and platforms, as we talked earlier as well, platforms such as AI SRE that we call, have evolved quite a lot. So it have become more about not being completely a traditional SRE, just a human back engineer, but a human back engineer who can leverage those tools to build and find what the and faster on what the people have been thinking.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think our job is becoming increasingly more like technical managers, where
Yeah,
we are orchestrating AI workflow to get stuff done.
right, right,
So
right.
if we think about an AI series that could solve incident, of course, a lot of people are like, hey, there is no way I'm going to let this AI access my production
Mm-hmm.
unless I have it push a fix. But when you think about it, why we are afraid about that? Because we're like, hey, LLM are non-deterministic, they make mistake, which is true, right? Like this stuff
Right, right.
hallucinate, they are not perfect. But guess what? Neither are humans,
Mm.
right? We are
Right.
non-deterministic being. We make mistake, and so we've been building these guardrails so that humans cannot screw up production, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
and so when you think about it, it's exactly the same, right? Whether the entropy and the mistake come from a machine or human, it's a mistake. It's just code at the end of the day. And so I think if you have the strong fundamental in place, like CI/CD process and sophisticated deployment process where you can, maybe A/B test or rollback. If you have all these tools in place, you can let your AI do its thing, succeed, sometimes fail, but your mechanism should catch this, right?
Right, right,
So I think the smart engineer, in my opinion, will be the one who are taking advantage, as you said, of these new tools that are embedded in platform to build these new processes to do work faster. And again, like this agent can be seen as like co-workers that you manage, you give,
right, right,
direction, and the same like GenAI. The beauty and the curse of GenAI is that no matter what you prompt, it's going to output something, right?
right.
Actually, a bit
Whether
like
it's 100%, whether it's 100%, what should I say, correct, or at least 30% correct, it will throw out
exactly.
something.
Exactly. But then the prompting, what you prompt is very important, right? And
Right,
as we just said, because you can prompt very bare minimum, it's going to do something. People get lazy and don't invest into that. But if you're prompting strategy, whether it's the way you prompt or what's actually in your prompt is very detailed, then you are going to get better output. There is an open source tool that's called Get Shit Done. It's free. You can find it on GitHub, and that helps you to when you work with coding assistant, help you to structure your work. And what it does is that it's going to force you to think through all the technical specificities that you may want to decide when you are building a new feature or a new project or whatever, right? Something that a senior engineer would do, right? Let's say, hey, like, how do we handle these edge cases? Should it scale or not? What about security, right? There's a lot of
right,
things.
right.
And so it forces you to answer all these questions. I don't know if the tool is going to last or what, but I encourage the audience to try it because I think it's a good illustration on how you should think about when you are working with this coding assistant.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. There's an open source tool with such prompts and such in technology. That's interesting to explore. Uh, yeah, I think, yeah, I agree with you. Like the prompts will be a starting point for every SRE or engineers to get understand on where they have to go. It's just that they have to decide where they have to go and not be a lazy about it. Otherwise, yeah, then the doomsday myth would be very fast here.
I
Um,
agree with you. Yes. I don't think people will lose their job, but someone who is better with this new tool will take their job.
right. Yes.
And I think we had a lot of I think there is still a bunch of skeptic in the industry, but I think the vast majority now software engineer are using this type of tools. If you do it right, there is no reason why you should not use them. As of last year, I think it was in March, almost a year ago, Cursor CEO said that Cursor back then, so it was a year ago, right,
Okay.
was getting approved 1 billion lines of code a day. And to put this in context, the world writes a few billion lines of code a day. So it was just Cursor back then. So if you take in consideration like Copilot and
Mm-hmm.
Claude and Windsurf, you can estimate that already back then a year ago, 50%
Right.
of the code was
Right.
written in
Code
some
work.
shape of right with GenAI. So I think now we are probably approaching, like, I don't know if I would to guess, like 70-80%. So yeah, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not, I
Yeah.
think GenAI is the future of coding. And yeah, SRE are not spared, and there are tools that SRE can use to augment themselves and also because they have to, right? There is more code coming their way. The number of changes is increasing, and so statistically, like, they could see an increase in number of incidents. So they have to jump on the train.
This is very interesting. This is interesting because I think for next year, or like half a year or a couple of years, the teams will continue to experiment and go beyond those experimentation with AI, right? And especially I believe that there is a lot of potential in how they are building AI workflows with for incident management or incident response. And you have been doing this firsthand, like, right? So what does AI driven SRE actually look like in practice, and how does Rootly fit into that evolution?
Yeah, Rootly has been investing in AI for a while now. I'd say, over 2 years. So I think the first thing that we did as a company was to embed AI in our existing product and workflow. Let me give you a few examples. For instance, we have a chatbot on Slack and Microsoft Teams that will ingest everything that's being said on this channel, and also will connect on your Zoom call or Google Meet call and take the transcript and memorize all of this. So that when there is someone joining the incident, either a new responder or maybe your CTO or VP engineering, and they want to know what's up, instead of asking a question to the responder who are super busy and they don't have time to answer you,
Right.
or they should not take the time to answer you, the bot can brief you on that, right? So that's like our customer really love this. And then other stuff like, hey, like we will help you when your incident is solved and you have to write your incident report and postmortem, right? Like we've memorized all of this, so Gen AI can help you and generate kind of a draft of what the postmortem should be. And so a lot of little like sprinkle of AI here and there, that I think have been very useful, but ultimately not transformative. So and then like Rootly invested in AI Lab. That's when I joined
Mm-hmm.
a year ago. So here what we do, the role of the AI lab is to, as you say, explore like what can AI bring to the world of reliability, and mostly Gen AI. That's what we mean by AI. And what we do is we do fast prototyping with fellows from other companies. So our fellows are students or very senior engineer in the industry. We have the head of infrastructure at Weight and Biases, former director of AI product at Twilio, people from LinkedIn, Venmo, and so on and so forth. And think of it as like a constant hackathon where we try, the latest model or latest protocol or tool, and we see if, this could be useful to build something that SRE could use.
That's
Spoiler
nice.
alert, most of the prototype, we build them, we show them, and then we just put them on the shelf and we never touch it. But some projects are actually quite useful. I'll share just two very briefly. One of them is called SRE Skill Bench. It's
Okay.
similar to Sweetbench. And the goal of SRE Skill Bench is to assess LLMs on SRE type of skills, right?
That's
So
nice.
yeah, let's say you are an SRE, you don't know if you should use like, let's say, Claude Opus or maybe GPT 5.2 or Quen or whatever, right? So we build
Right, right.
a benchmark that will tell you which is the current model doing the best on SRE type tasks. Another
And
project
that's
that
nice.
is quite popular is called On-Call Health. And what On-Call Health does is that it helps detect signs of overwork among your incident
Mm-hmm.
responder.
Right.
So what we do is that we connect with your, let's like your Rootly or your PagerDuty, your GitHub, your Jira, and we collect a lot of information that shows the workload of your responder, how many incidents they manage, what was the severity, when did they get paid, where they're working at night, and so on and so forth. And we come up with a score and a trend showing like how your engineers are doing. And we also ask self-reported question, like a quick question once a week. Hey, how do you feel today? How was your on-call? And with this, we are able to, show signs that someone may be overworked. So these are the type of tools that
That's nice.
I think like will can help bring SREs in the AI era. And obviously, I think the last part of the story is the AI SRE, where think of it as a code, but
Mm.
for specifically designed for SREs. And I think this type of tool will really grow. And yeah, we are building one at Rootly. For now, we only are running it in production with like a few customers, but we've seen like very good results. And yeah, I'm very excited about this
That's
type of tools.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I think for us, like for not for me, like for us as a company, as a harness, um, we have started to invest in AI SRE, keeping the point same that it should not substitute the SREs, but reduce their operational work with the context loading and helping and the things that we discussed, like a signal and the noise. So filtering out the noise, giving the proper signals as well. But I think it will take so much time before we'll be in the depth of it. But yeah, I agree with you that the AI SRE, Gen AI, or whether we say AI, LLMs for SREs, I think they are going to have a boom, not because um, our systems are not that great, or infrastructure is not that great, but I believe since vibe coding have increased, or the vibe coding usage have been increased in day to day on how much code is getting shipped, right? There has to be some um, flaw or a bug that intentionally or unintentionally goes into the production, and I think that's where these tools will help us.
Yeah, and another aspect of the impact of vibe coding is that people are becoming increasingly like foreign and
Dependent, rely, yeah,
they don't know their code base anymore, right?
yeah.
Because
They're very new. It's like if they have not touched the code, they'll not be able to, I think, debug a error or place the statements like catch and try even for a very long time if they don't know.
exactly.
Once they have started the vibe coding, yeah.
So then, like historically, when there were an incident, let's say it's a serious incident or the SRE cannot solve it,
Mm-hmm.
what they would do is that they would call, you would like git blame and see who worked on this feature or whatnot. And ask them, hey, can you jump on this Slack channel to help me, or can you come and sit next to me and we can troubleshoot together, right? Or like go in the war room and but the thing is
Having the
that
ROM war room, yeah. I
right, and
think
this
that
is
will be also go missing, yeah.
it's
Sorry.
going to be increasingly hard because people don't know the code base. They prompted the agent to do it, and so when the
Mm-hmm.
SRE need help, they will also kind of be the first time they read this code, right? And so here, like incident could take longer to resolve because, hey, like both of us, we need to get up to speed on the code. So that's why here, again, you could use AI, which can go much faster than us. And actually they build it, so they should troubleshoot it, right? I think it comes down to this.
I agree. Yeah. So for someone getting their hands or just starting into the industry as a SRE, what are your some tips or best practices that they should keep in mind?
Yeah, I think SRE has always been like kind of a weird career path because it's a very hard job. It's a hard job because SRE are generally what we call like this full stack engineer and even more, right? Like you need to know coding, you need to know infrastructure, you need to be
The
able to
DevOps
work
and
on,
the software engineer combined together.
right, exactly. You need to be able to work under pressure and be able to communicate and sometimes orchestrate, in the case of incident, like a response effort. So I think SRE are very like Swiss Army knife type of people. There is not a lot of there is actually no school almost that do that. I did create a software engineering school called Holberton School, and we have an SRE track, a system administration SRE track. And so I think for someone who's getting into the field, there is no shortcut. Like you need to understand the fundamentals, right? Like as we discussed, like now we are directing agent to do the work, but you need
Right.
to
Right.
direct them right, right?
Right.
So if you
You
are
can't
yourself
write blindly. Yeah.
exactly right, you cannot just. I mean, you can give like very rough instruction, but it's not gonna come out good, right? So I think anyone who wants to enter the industry, there is no shortcut. You need to understand the fundamentals, um, and and then once you know the fundamentals, you can orchestrate and direct your agent to do the job well. And then of course it's to lean into AI. And what I'm saying is that I think there are going to be kind of a divide between engineers who are AI native and the one who are not. And I think that the engineers who are not able to transition to being able to use this tool are
Yes.
going to
Yeah.
suffer
Yeah.
in their career, right? And I think the young generation, because they are, that's all they know, I think will be more comfortable with this tool and will use them in a better way. But I think where we need to be careful is we need to ensure that there is at least some fundamental knowledge that is here, and it's not knowing the syntax of how to write a function in JavaScript or in Python or whatnot is not really like the most important. Like, who cares?
Right.
But there is a
Right.
lot of fundamentals about system and software engineering and system architecture that no matter if it's built by you or a machine, you know
You should be able to understand that.
exactly right. So that would be my advice for someone who wants to get started in this career.
Gotcha. So that's it, folks, for this episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope, Sylvian, that it was fun interaction for you as well. And yeah, moving to the closing note, I think the bigger takeaway for all of this is that AI isn't going to replace the incident management, but it is definitely refining and redefining what reliability means when the agents are also part of the ecosystem. Who owns it, how the teams are operating under pressure, and how better that you can leverage those agents. So that's it for this episode. Thank you everyone for watching.